Good evening, dear friends, and welcome to day 228 of a poem a day for 2026. It is Sunday. As you can see in the behind me, I've started doing lots of things today and haven't finished any of them. I have a clean, wet load of washing sat on my bathroom floor, waiting to be hung onto the air. I have a clean, wet load of washing finished in the washing machine, also waiting to be hung on the arrow. So I'm going to pull that out as well and see how much of it I can fit on the arrow. The cats have been taken care of, and I have also eaten. And I've moved some things around in the drawers of my bedroom. And that's about it. Definitely not as productive as yesterday, but yesterday was very productive, for me at least. So I'm not going to beat myself up about it. And I'm here, I'm recording. This will probably be a little bit late because it's currently 7:24, but we're close to getting back on schedule. I also failed to mention yesterday or Friday, I have new glasses. I had my eyes tested back in February, and I've only recently had enough available to be able to afford to order some new ones. I get my glasses from an online provider because they are so much cheaper, and these have blue light filters on them as well, so which is why there's that kind of tint to that you're seeing. But yeah, they're super comfy and everything is very crisp. Not a massive change of prescription, but enough that it's definitely beneficial. And can you tell that you are excuse me, I'm so sorry, you are the first people other than cats that I've spoken to today. So I won't keep you any longer. Let's get into the book. So it is the 16th of August, and we have a piece entitled Musée des Beaux Arts by W.H. Auden. Okay, and our blurb reads as follows. This poem by the Anglo-American poet Auden is an example of ekphrasis, a Greek term for when a visual work of art, like a painting, is described in a textual work of art, like a poem. That's a new one on me. If it's true that a picture can paint 1,000 words, then how should words go about painting a picture? The painting is Landscape with the Fall of Icarus by Pieter Bruegel the Elder, which Auden saw in Brussels. It depicts the myth of Icarus, in which an over-ambitious boy flies with wings held together with wax too close to the sun. The wings melt, and he plummets to his death. Yet, in spite of the extraordinary sight of the boy falling from the sky, the other figures in the painting continue with life as normal, calmly ignoring the tragic event. Wow, I'm familiar with the piece. I'm very familiar with the story of Icarus. I remember it from childhood, being utterly fascinated. Definitely not contemplated making my own wings. So, this is Musée des Beaux Arts by W.H. Auden. About suffering, they were never wrong. The old masters, how well they understood its human position, how it takes place while someone else is eating or opening a window or just walking dully along. How, when the aged are reverently, passionately waiting for the miraculous birth, there always must be children who did not specially want it to happen, skating on a pond at the edge of the wood, They never forgot that even the dreadful martyrdom must run its course. Anyhow, in a corner, some untidy spot, where the dogs go on with their doggy life, and the torturer's horse scratches its innocent behind on the tree. In Bruegel's Icarus, for instance, how everything turns away, quite leisurely, from the disaster. The ploughman may have heard the splash, the forsaken cry, but for him it was not an important failure. The sun shone as it had to on the white legs disappearing into the green water, and the expensive, delicate ship that must have seen something amazing, a boy falling out of the sky, had somewhere to get to, and sailed calmly on. It's been an incredibly long time since I've been lucky enough to go to a museum or an art gallery. Um, and I think the next time I have the opportunity to do so, I am absolutely going to take the time to read the what's the word? The the ekphrasis um, that tell the story of the images. What a wonderful concept, and how much of an honour it must be to be tasked to describe a painting, and from an accessibility point of view, just how fantastic. Because obviously, like blindness, for example, isn't an ailment, isn't a disability of just the 21st century, or even just the 20th century. It's something that's happened since the dawn of time. So, for artwork to have been accessible to blind people, and whether that was because I'm certain I've seen ekphrasis, plural, um, traced over or alongside with braille, or if the blind person is accompanied and their companion reads it to them. Or I know sometimes at galleries there's audio accompaniment. You can get like headsets and stuff. Um, just just fantastic. I love that. I see, and I follow a lot of disabled content creators online, and I've seen so much awful stuff this week about really poor accessibility, um, and places just not meeting requirements. So even if that wasn't the intention of an ekphrasis, it's I find it quite heartening to think that, accidental or not, intended or not, accessibility has been part of enjoying and consuming the arts for centuries. This is one of those days that I didn't know that I needed this. I'm very glad. I also think it's on a somewhat different note. The way that everybody in the scene where Icarus fell, just minding their own business and getting on with their lives, when this absolute tragedy befell Icarus, is probably a fair lesson to many of us, and not the traditional "don't fly too close to the sun," but more so that I know a lot of us are usually very concerned about how we're perceived by the general public, worried about being judged either on our appearance, the way we act, or so many other things. And I think the reactions of, or lack thereof, of the farmer and the crew on the boat and all those things probably tells us that most people are actually pretty wrapped up in their own lives and don't really pay us any mind. So, do your thing. Wear the thing. Style your hair. Do what brings you joy. And if someone has a go, just blow a raspberry out. No, just I know it's easier said than done, but ignore them. Because if somebody's taking jabs at you, then it's very likely that they're feeling in a, well, I've got to do something before somebody gets me, because they're insecure too. Definitely didn't mean to sort of come all preachy, but yeah, it's what I was thinking when I was reading through and realised that nobody was paying any mind to this boy falling from the sky. And that's an incredibly dramatic thing. Whereas me walking out my flat with purple hair, probably not much. Not a big deal. We'll be alright, pals. I'm gonna go and tackle my chores, because I've still got some things to do before I can try and wind down a bit. And here's hoping that when I and all of you do finally get to wind down this evening, in this much cooler climate, and it's very overcast, and I am hopeful, cautiously hopeful, both for the overcast nature of the sky and for all of us this evening, that maybe we will all have a very good night.